Welcome back to another installment in the Megasquirt tuning series. Today we're going to be talking about connecting your Megasquirt in different ways. And I know you've already connected it, you've gotten this far, but what are some other options that you might use to connect to your laptop or another device even? After you've been tuning a while, you know, the tune is never quite done, is it? There's always like little tweaks that you want to make, but you don't want to be hauling around your actual tuning laptop that you probably have every time you drive the car. So what can we do? Well, we can connect in a couple different ways to a mobile device that might be a little bit more convenient for that quick little tweak to that little scenario that happens only every once in a while. So let's check it out. Alright, so the most basic method of connection is a serial cable. It's got these 9 pins like this. And this works for all varieties of Megasquirt, 1, 2, and 3. And depending on the laptop that you have, you may or may not have a serial connection. And usually you don't these days. Serial is kind of an older way of doing it. And so instead you have the universal serial bus, which is USB, on the other side. So buying a cable like this can be convenient to connect up your older Megasquirts, or you can get a USB cable for your Megasquirt 3, which has this USB Type B connector. It's a squarish connector. It's usually used for peripherals like printers and things. And what this is a beefier kind of connector for the Megasquirt 3 that plugs in and is directly USB to USB. So if you have a USB capable directly Megasquirt, like a Megasquirt 3 or 3X, then this is probably the way to go. However, serial cable does have its advantages. For one thing, they can often screw in. Now, this one actually doesn't have any screws to it, but it has these little bolts. And so a lot of serial cables can actually screw in to the connector on the Megasquirt, and that's great in an automotive setting where you have vibration a lot. USB, especially this type of connector, is horrible at dealing with vibration. It can vibrate right out. It's a friction fit only. That's how it stays in. And so this can be much more consistent in terms of your connection ability. Now, both of these style of connectors also have the ability of running at the highest frame rate possible. So the most amount of information is being transmitted on these two lines. So that's another advantage of the hardwired connection. But what are some other options that we might have? If you want to do without the wires completely, you can move into the Bluetooth world. So I'm holding here a class 1 Bluetooth device with a serial adapter on the end here. It's a serial to Bluetooth dongle, and unfortunately you will not be able to use those smaller Bluetooth adapters that you would normally plug into like a laptop or whatever, so you can use a Bluetooth mouse. Those do not work in terms of being able to actually program the Megasquirt. You need this serial adapter on the end of it. So these come in a couple different varieties. The class 1 device has like an antenna, and it typically has a much higher range, although you know you're in the car, so how much range do you really need? But one thing that's good about this with the antenna is that it can help you with going through metal, you know, that it can go through and around metal more easily because it's got a higher output. And this can be useful when you're working outside of the car. So you can be standing in front of the car looking at the engine bay with your laptop over to one side and be tuning away. You can run all of the diagnostics, you can run the test modes, you can do all kinds of stuff without being tied to the cabin of the car. So that's super convenient. Now, the laptop is not the only thing that can run your tuning software. It runs the full version of Tuner Studio, and there's really no complete replacement for that. However, there are options that are available on Android devices, and to do that you can link up with this type of cable, which is a USB on the go or OTG type of cable. And in this case, my Android phone is a USB-C type connector, which looks like this. And on the end is, you see this female plug. So a USB output from the device will plug into here, and then you can plug that directly into your phone, and then you can make use of a lot of different Android apps that have the capability of reading that information directly from the Megasquirt. One of the ones that I use the most is one called MSDroid, and it actually allows you the full tuning capabilities on your phone using a cable like this or using Bluetooth. And so that gives you basically 90% of the functionality of your tuning laptop, actually. So you can tune a lot of stuff. You can't get all quite as complicated dashboards and miscellaneous things like that, but you can produce dashboards for just daily running as well on that application. And there are other applications out there that are specifically made for dashboard building, and you can build some amazing looking dashboards using those apps. So really there's a lot of things you can do. With completely wireless connections and Bluetooth, you can use Bluetooth with your laptop, you can use Bluetooth with your phone, you can use wired connections with your laptop or your phone. And all of this gives you all kinds of capabilities to be able to tune on the fly as you need it. You know, when you're setting up your tune, you may have tuned in the summer and now it's winter and it's the temperature and weather has changed and it's throwing off your idle. Well, now you can fix that while you're driving. All right, so there's a few different Bluetooth devices out there, and they range. I think the better ones are around about $60, $60 to $70. You can buy it directly from the people who make Tuner Studio, EFI Analytics, and their Bluetooth device is set up to work right out of the box. There are some things that have to be set up with this device to have it work with the Megasquirt. And so if you buy another type, from China or something like that, or Amazon, whatever it is, you may have to do some slight configuration to this device, and we're gonna show you exactly how that works. All right, so we're gonna come over here to the computer and we're gonna get our Bluetooth adapter set up. And what we've got here, taking a look at the outside of this thing, it's got a little plug on the side for external power because your serial adapter from the PC is not gonna provide enough power for it. It will not need this when it's plugged into the Megasquirt. The Megasquirt does provide power over pin 9. And also you notice there's a button. It may be a switch on yours, but there's a little button on here for mode. And when you're writing settings and doing configuration of it, you'll need to put it into the programming mode, which usually involves flipping the switch or pressing the button, something like that. You'll see what it is. And we've got our serial to USB cable hooked up. If you have a recent computer, recent meaning anything in the last decade, you may not have a serial port on your device, so you need that. However, you may notice this is a male plug, and so is this. So we need a little adapter. These are probably about $1 on Amazon, so pretty easy to pick up. At the same time, you get one of these if you don't have one on hand. And so basically we're just going to plug this in here, and it should pop up on your computer as a recognized USB device to start off with. All right, so hopefully your device came with a little slip of paper or something like that that indicated a website where you could download some utilities. And in my case, I chose one from a company called OEM Blue. This is the company that produces a lot of these things. I've seen them rebranded with other names, but the piece of paper points you to the same website. And this is a Chinese company that makes these things. This is just because it's Chinese doesn't make it horrible. It works just fine. And what you want to do is come in here and download the zip file thing at the bottom that allows you to connect to your device. Now, there are other ways to connect to the device, which I can show you just using what's called a terminal program. But we just need to set up a couple parameters so they can communicate, and it can communicate at the highest speed possible. All right, so I've unzipped this little parameter exe, and we're gonna go down here and start typing in device and go to device manager. And what should happen, you've got this thing plugged in. It's plugged into the wall, and it's also plugged in to your adapter, and then it's plugged into the USB port. And you should be able to see in here, as you pull up the device manager, scroll down to the bottom, and go under COM ports, and you should see something like this: USB to serial COM port, and make note of this, COM3. All right, so we got COM3. We're going to go back, pull up our application, and we'll switch it over to COM3. And this can be the flow control, and connect. All right. So you should see something appear here. There'll be a name of the device. I've already named my device Wasabi because of my green Miata. It already has a binded address in here to my phone. But all this is in here, and what you can do is rename it so that you can recognize your device on your phone. This is what will show up in your Bluetooth phone, Bluetooth settings on the phone. And the rest can be set as the default. However, it may be a good idea to change your password. This is the pairing password, and that way people can't hack your car's ECU. That would be good. So change it to a PIN that you can remember and is not 1234, which is the default on these devices. All right, so once you've got everything set up, we've changed our baud rate here to the highest if you have a Megasquirt 2 or a 3. Otherwise, you'll need to leave it on 9600 for a Megasquirt 1. The rest of these things can remain the default usually. This thing for power save, I don't want it to do any kind of power saving. I don't need power save. So you basically set all those to 0, and then you can hit set at the bottom. At that point, the device should say that it's written and the set has been completed. If not, you may need to go back over to the device and make sure it's in the programming mode by flipping that switch or pressing the button that's there on the side. And that should get it to write. Once you've done this, then the name you selected up here will show up in your Bluetooth devices. And well, I should say, once you've set it and closed this program, then flip the switch again back to regular mode. You may need to unplug the device, but then it will show up under your Bluetooth devices on your phone or laptop under this, and you'll be able to type in the password that you selected, and it will connect. Now, this device does not connect like earbuds or something like that. It will connect, and then it will sort of disconnect and go into like your previously paired devices. This is normal. It will only connect and stay connected when you're in the app or the application on your laptop, which is going to utilize the connection to connect to Megasquirt. So it will connect automatically, and I'll show you how to do that in the application. All right, and if your device does not come with a handy utility like that, then it's still possible to fix it. You can download a little terminal software called Putty. This has been around for ages, and it's free. You can download it. Once you download it, then you can open it up here. All right, once you've got your Putty application installed, you can click on it, and it's going to give you a series of options to connect to. We're going to connect via serial. And 9600 for programming purposes is fine. We're going to use the COM port that it connected as, and in my case it's COM3. Before we do anything else, we're also going to go to the terminal option here, and we're going to come down here to say force on for local echo. This will allow us to see what we're typing, which is kind of convenient. Not necessary, but kind of convenient. And we should be good to connect. So let's open. All right, so it's going to come up with kind of a blank screen. You can tell if it's working by typing the command AT, and it should respond with an OK like that. So there's a series of commands that all start with AT. It stands for attention, and this is some pretty old school stuff, but there are usually a document or something that will come with the device that gives some AT commands. And so you will be able to, if you download that or you kind of search the internet for that for your particular device, you should get a list of commands. So here's the AT. By setting the baud, we want to set it to whatever if you have a Megasquirt 3 like I do, this is 115,200. And that can be done by typing in AT plus baud equals and then the number or value that I want. The auth is for your password, so you can put in your PIN number. And you can rename the device using AT plus name. The rest of these are typically okay. And all right, once you've gone through the parameters and set up the various things that you need to change on your device, especially the baud, that's the main thing that needs to be changed. The rest can stay the same as default. Then it should show up and connect on your device, like your phone or your laptop, just as the same as when using the other configuration utility tool. All right, so coming out to the car, install could not be easier. I've got my ECU tucked behind the passenger seat, and here's our serial port down in there, and we'll be just plugging this in. And I do recommend using the little screws. It's good to keep a tight fit, and then it won't vibrate free. So we'll get that installed and check it out. All right, so that's plugged in, got our little antenna sticking up there, and we'll turn on the car and see it connect. All right, so obviously I have Tuner Studio hooked up on my laptop, but now welcome to my phone. Today we're going to be using an application that I've got installed called MSDroid. It's right there, and let's open it up. So MSDroid will allow you to connect via USB or via Bluetooth. And so the first time you open the app, you're going to want to set up a project, which I've already done actually, but I'll show you what that looks like. It kind of goes like this and allows you to set up a new project. In my case, I've got my car, so we'll come in here and select that. Once you've got a project loaded, you sort of don't have to do anything quite yet. The first thing is come in here to the app settings, and we can change a couple things, or just review a couple things. The connection type, so you can select any available if you're going to potentially be floating back and forth between Bluetooth and USB. The only difference really is the speed is a little bit better on USB, but honestly I have no problems whatsoever with the speed of the Bluetooth. It seems very reliable and fast, plenty fast. The other thing we want to do is set up the baud rate. If you have an MS2 or 3, definitely set the baud rate to 115,000. That's basically it. You can turn on auto connect if you like, and that'll automatically connect without you having to press anything. Auto log if you like, although I don't leave that on just because it can start filling up your device's storage. But you can also enable Google Drive integration, so you can store all your log files on Google Drive to help out with that. So at this point we're pretty much done, so we'll just go back and set up the project as well. This is the same sort of setup that you do in Tuner Studio for the first time. You can tell it what to do in terms of what kind of wideband you have installed, whether you want to use Celsius or Fahrenheit, if you need different cylinder support, and so on. So once that's set up in the same way that you have your regular Tuner Studio set up, you can come back in here and it'll present you with a basic dashboard. I've modified this a little bit. I really haven't done a huge amount with this because there's really not that much, just some basic information on the screen is all I need for sort of basic tuning processes. So this can be set up to work in any kind of mode, landscape or portrait mode. You can change how this looks. You can go into the designer by just long pressing and selecting something and going up here and changing what it is. You can add new pages, so you can quickly swipe between different dashboards. Modify the device, move it around a little bit, change the way it looks. It can be digital, it can be an analog gauge. There's a lot of different gauge types, which are kind of convenient. So once you've got that, you are able to access right here this tuning menu, which you'll find familiar. It's basically the same menu options as what you would have in the full Tuner Studio app. Once you get in here, you can see all the different stuff. And so we can set up our engine settings, required fuel. You'll notice at the bottom here there's some pages, so you can flip through these different pages so it's laid out nice. And you can make all the same changes that you would in the regular Tuner Studio app. Once you're done with the change, you can click up at the top here for burn. Alright, I'm sitting in the driver's seat. The key is off. I'm just going to turn it to key on, not start, and then we'll get connected. So key on. Maybe able to hear that. And we'll tap our MSDroid. So you can see it's connecting, synchronizing, and boom, we have gauges. So it's showing the sweep for the AFR is 19.5. That's the standard sweep that it does. When starting the car, my particular wideband, and you can see the throttle position sensor is moving. If I floor it, see that working? And then we can do a start. It's a cold day, cold start. Not too bad. That was me tipping the throttle too early, and we'll let it come down. You can see the indicators at the bottom, warm up enrichment. You saw the ASE come on briefly, and it's in closed loop already. Battery voltage back up until the alternator is working. Engine map. You can see it sucking in air as the butterfly opens. Alright. So welcome to the freedom of wireless. You can walk around your garage like this. You can have the engine bay open and be in the test modes. Tuning, as I mentioned. You can go in here to the test modes. And my favorite is some of the idle valve, test mode, injector spark, in case something wrong is happening. You can turn on and off the fuel pump. So all this stuff, you can just walk around and do it. And you can click burn whenever you make changes like this. And for normal driving, you can just have this up as a little extra dashboard. Well, that'll do it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope this is helpful. Leave a comment below if you have any problems. I respond to all the comments that I can. If I miss one, just comment again. I mostly get the notifications and everything through YouTube, but I really like to reply and have you know, a lot of great comments, because that not only helps the individual commenting, but it also helps any future viewers. So thanks a lot for everything, and we'll see you in the next video.